Everyone. Today, I want to give you two concrete examples of how creation from within manifests in your external reality. The first example is related to a planetary mission that I did with a student, and the second example that I'm going to give you is a little bit more business related that's going to show you how you can create from an inner space for those of you that are more entrepreneurial star seeds. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you one practical action that you can take that's going to help you dive deeper into these esoteric teachings so that you can learn how to access this wisdom for yourself. Okay, so the first example is this. I had a student who worked with me a few years ago, and she was actually visiting Australia. She lived in the US and she was coming over for a trip to do a one-on-one retreat together. And at this point, she'd been studying the inner heart meditation technique with me for about a year and a half. And something really interesting happened for her during the time that she was planning the trip. Now, the first thing I want to add here is this travel plan was happening in the middle of COVID, where there was a lot of uncertainty. She wasn't even sure if she'd be able to get into the country. There was a lot behind that. But energetically, she felt this really big pull to come, and she was being very supported vibrationally through the 7-7 gateway that was happening that year. So, so one of the things that happened for this student was that she ended up in her meditation, she kept seeing this energy of Uluru, and this red soil started showing up inside her inner meditation space. So what that said to me was that the actual land was calling her. Sometimes we think that we want to travel somewhere and do something, and we don't realize that there's this deeper reason for why we're being called to a particular place, particularly if it's maybe somewhere we haven't been before, or it could be a sacred place. Now, she wasn't actually visiting Uluru on this particular trip. She was just coming to Perth to meet with me, and then she was going back to America. But at the same token, this Uluru, this red soil, started showing up within her inner landscape. So, you can look at that and go, well, it's just a coincidence, but it's not, because everything that we experience in this reality is created from the inside out. Some of you may have heard of this saying, as within, so without, as above, so below. And what that means is that whatever happens in our internal reality, it manifests in the external. At the same time, you can see what's about to manifest externally because it shows up internally. When I really started to go deeper into my heart space and really going into my inner temples and my inner spaces, I started to see that there is actually so much more available to us, and you can actually see things that are about to happen. Now, I don't like to use the word prediction very much because, it's not about predicting so much as it is about creating with the universe. And so what happened for this student was we saw the energy was really alive there. And then what she did was she took action on that. She trusted in that guidance and she took action on it by booking her flights. And when she got her tickets, she ended up having a really smooth arrival. And, there's a much longer story that I could get into about all the 7-7 alignments that happened for her, all the synchronicities that happened as she was embarking on this trip to Australia for the first time. I had a very similar example of this too, related to planetary mission work, which was I got called to go to Tasmania a couple of years ago. And, just like maybe 3 weeks leading up to that point, I kept seeing these auroras in my inner heart space. I just kept seeing these purple and green auroras. And when I got there, I ended up experiencing my very first aurora. So, things really they show up internally, but what happens is if you're not tapped in enough, if you haven't learned the esoteric teachings, if you haven't, got the right tools or practices, then you might miss the creation that's unfolding. Now, you might still have the experience of going to a new country or seeing an aurora, but you miss the magic that happens when you realize actually you created this with the universe. So for this student, coming to Australia wasn't just about an overseas trip. There was an entire planetary mission that went along with that. And maybe some of you who are watching this, you're resonating with, working with ley lines and doing grid work and really tuning into those deeper layers of your movements on this planet. If you're drawn to my work, chances are you probably are here for a bigger vision, a bigger mission. You're here to actually support other people in their awakening. And so one of the ways that we do that is we allow that creation energy to flow from within, and we tune in to what is showing up internally, because then we are able to see the unfolding of that happens from within the heart space. Now, another example of this is the business side of things. And, I always laugh when I tell this story because it's still hilarious. This happened for me quite a few years ago. I used to have a studio here in Perth, and, every week we used to have classes, and these students would come and at one point, I had this lovely receptionist. She's a beautiful lady. She was working with me at the time, and we were setting up for a sound healing that was happening at the studio. And she said to me, I'm going to put out some mats, and I think she put out maybe 6 or 7 mats. And I don't know, something just came through, and it said, "No, put out 13." And I actually yelled this across the studio to her. I told her, "Put 13 mats out." And she did put 13 mats, but then what happened was there were only 9 people there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I got a really clear number 13 that there was going to be 13 people showing up to this class. About 2 minutes after the class started, like the lady had just got in, shut the door, she was about to start the sound healing. And then these 4 people come running in saying, sorry, we're so late. We weren't sure if we were going to make it or not, and then there ended up being exactly 13 people. And thankfully, my assistant had put out exactly 13 mats. Now, I see this happening in a business context all the time. And when I'm working with entrepreneurs, one of the things that we look at is what is the creation that's flowing through you? Everybody wants to say, look, I want to build a 7-figure business and I want to have this amazing, course, or I want to do this modality, or I want to teach people this program. And I say, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. But there's what you're projecting onto the universe, and then there's what's actually flowing through you. And so I like to take a little bit more of a surrendered approach. If you're familiar with Michael Singer and his teachings, the surrender experiment, the surrendered approach is actually looking in and going, what is flowing through me? But it doesn't have to be a surprise. It doesn't have to be something that's completely unknown, because at the end of the day, when you're surrendering into that divine will, what that outcome is still going to show up in your inner heart space, whether it's a trip to another country, to another state, to another city, whether it's a particular business venture that you're going on. This happened for me so many times over the journey of becoming a spiritual mentor and being a business owner as well, that, eventually I stopped being surprised by it. It's still delightful every time when it happens. But I know now whenever I'm running a Galactic Gateway event, or whenever I'm running something, it's like I see the exact number of people. It's like these little balls of light that appear in my meditation space, and I just know, okay, these are the people. This is the contract. I've agreed to support this many amount of people. So for example, with the studio experience, there was some, soul agreement in place that those 13 people were going to come. And all I did was pick up on that. And because I picked up on it, I was able to energetically prepare for it. So when you're setting yourself up for success, whether it's in a spiritual aspect, whether it's in a business aspect, one of the most pivotal things that you can do is to drop into that inner heart space. You might be wondering, well, Isha, how do I do that? So I can't teach you the entire process in a YouTube video, but we do have a 12-week course that I run that teaches you step by step how to access your inner temples, how to access this space from within, how to fine tune your frequency to the point where if you are an entrepreneur, or you are somebody who's looking to be a part of the ascension and you want to help, lift the vibration of the planet, the first thing you need to do is learn how to access that space within. Once you're there, it's like the world is your oyster. You can do planetary missions. You can, have successful businesses. You can, people have manifested partners in that space as well. Like when I've taught some of my students how to tap in, they've connected with their twin flames, or they've connected with like beautiful humans, just in the process of unfolding into that. So if you are interested to learn more and you want to deepen your understanding and awareness of these esoteric teachings, you no longer have to go to Nepal. That's the good news. You can do it right here from your computer screen. We have a virtual 5-day introductory program coming up soon, and you can click the link that's in the comments. It's journey.ishapatel.com. And when you come along to this 5-day event, you're going to learn some of the foundational pieces of the inner heart practice, as well as the right mindset and some practical tools to clear your energy blockages and put yourself into your highest timeline. So for those of you that are feeling called to lift up this year, to elevate your mission, your vision, and be a really big contributor and active participator in the ascension, this is the way that we are doing that. So this is your invitation to join us. Come and learn with us about the inner heart practice. Come and deepen your esoteric understanding. And I look forward to seeing you at the 5-day event. Click the link below. It's journey.ishapatel.com, and I'll see you there.